Now this is what S.A.L.T is all about. This will be the what I will call the best production without any highlights. And it's because something was bothering me about the analysis that people were giving about this Super Bowl. It's already Wednesday, a few days after. I tried to express on the Staircase edition, first part of my analysis of this Super Bowl, how I felt, and I couldn't put my finger on it, and now I know what's bothering me. And what makes this, what S.A.L.T's all about is specific. Go into the details. I have the papers in front of me. Go through the drives of the game. I don't even need highlights for that, but demonstrate the points to get the analysis right by going through the details of the game. That's what S.A.L.T is all about. That's one of my favorite things that I like to do. So without any further ado, let's go to it. What you're hearing out there is a Denver defense. Defense wins championships. And they knocked around Carolina, and therefore good defense beats strong offense. Cam Newton went from MVP to very ordinary. He was nervous at the beginning, and he got knocked around, and he even didn't go for a fumble. He slid at one point. He took his time at the end of the first half. They delayed. They lost 30 seconds. They could have got into field range. Basically, that's the way you're hearing the game being analyzed, and that's it. Great defense beat a scoring offense that scored 30 a game. Well, I say no. You got to look at it differently. And this is what I was trying to say again in my first part, and now I'm going to be able to say it more clearly. Let's go through also what Carolina did on defense. So let's go there. Well, first, let's reference in detail. Let's reference in detail Carolina on offense, everything I just said to show that that's true. Carolina had the ball 14 drives in this game, and I'm not counting the last drive when it was down 14 with 2 minutes. I didn't even watch that over. 2 minutes left. So 14 significant drives in this game. 4 times 3 and out. 2 times they got a first down, 4 and out. The killers were the sack touchdown, the fumble after 20 yards, after getting 20 yards, fumble by Tolbert, and of course the last fumble at the end of the game, the sack strip at the end. An interception also after a long gain. They had an intercept after a long gain, a 40-yard gain, but then in close to Denver, close to the red zone, threw an interception. So 4 turnovers, 4 3 and outs, 2 4 and outs. That's 10 of their 14 drives. They also had one great drive, a touchdown drive in the second quarter to make it, at the time, 10-7. Was that the first quarter? First or second quarter? They also had, in the second half, 2 drives of 50 or more yards. One of those is the one that entered an interception. But a 54-yard drive ended up with a missed field goal. That was a decent drive. And they got a 29-yard drive starting from the 50 after a Peyton Manning fumble at the 50. And the drive stalled on a 3rd and 10, questionable. It should have been interference. Roby interfered with Ginn. They didn't call that field goal. Okay, that made it 16-10 at the time in the third quarter. And then one other drive that I didn't mention, right? I think I got one drive left. If I'm doing the math, there's one more drive left. The 2-minute drill before the half, that they came down a little bit, but they took their time, used extra time, lost about 20 to 25 seconds. They ended up on the 45-yard line of Denver with 18 seconds left and no timeouts. They had to use one timeout on that drive for no reason because just the clock ran down. Again, showing Cam was like thrown off. He's getting hit all over the place. Let me give you some more details. That already I went through the 14 drives and showed that Cam they had one 70-yard drive, one 50-yard drive, and one 29-yard drive that ended in a field goal, and the 2-minute drill where they moved the ball a little bit. Otherwise, every other drive was terrible. 4 turnovers, 4 3 and outs, and 2 4 and outs. Very good. Let me give you some more specifics there, however. The specific I want to mention is that... No, I'm going to leave it at that. So you go, okay, Denver defense getting it done. Okay, now but the problem is that the Carolina did even better. Now I understand that they did it against a weaker quarterback, Peyton Manning at this point being about the 25th best quarterback in the league with his arm strength. Certainly, that's a great matchup for Carolina, who their only weakness is the deep pass. If you again, I never confirm that. That's what everyone's been saying. Peyton Manning's not going to be able to take advantage of that. He doesn't have the arm strength to take advantage of that. Front seven is fantastic for Carolina. As a matter of fact, Carolina, I would say, is as good a defense as Denver, except Denver's defense, its strength is the pass rush. And that is very important to have. I think that's more important than having stronger linebackers like Carolina has. And Carolina hits harder and tougher. Okay, whatever. But Carolina's defense is certainly good enough and strong enough to stop Peyton Manning. I predicted that in my Saturday night, what should happen, and that's what happened, because Peyton Manning was even worse as far as their drives. They had the ball 12 times significantly. 12 times. Now, what do you mean? How could they have it 12 and Carolina 14? Remember, Carolina had it twice in a row after a turnover touchdown. They get the ball again right away, and also they had the ball at the end on the fumble. They had one extra drive in the first half at the end of the half. Why do they only have 12 drives? I'll work that out. I thought I had this all worked out. But let's go through the 12. Okay, I'm low tech there. I'm not going to go back and do this over. Here we go. 12 drives. 6 3-and-outs. 1 4-and-out. 1 interception after a big run. So that'll equate to the interception Cam threw after a big pass. 1 fumble after getting after getting a pass and a penalty, after they got about 20 yards. Peyton Manning fumbled at the 50. So that's already 9 bad drives out of 12. They only had 8 first downs altogether in the game, if you count that penalty at the end, that a ridiculous penalty on one of the worst calls of why was he throwing at that point. Peyton Manning, by the way, on the 2 good drives that he put together for field goals, in each one of them, there should have been a ball that should have been picked. He also had 2 others that could have been picked. Two altogether by Norman. 2 of them, one was in his hands, one he could have grabbed. One time, after a punt return, we're going to call that a 3-and-out, but he really went for it on 4th down. There was a penalty, and they had to settle for a field goal. So that's really a 7th 3-and-out. They couldn't even punch it in there. They did get the 1 yard for the first down, but a penalty burned back. And one time at the goal line, they got the field goal at the very end. At the very end, why am I writing goal line field goal? What's at the goal line field goal? No, that was a touchdown at the end. But at the goal line touchdown, a 5-yard drive after the. My point is, okay, I'm doing details. I thought I had this better, but you could see that each team was ridiculously bad on offense. Particularly Denver, even more so. Less first downs and less yards, less good drives. They had 2 good drives to get into the field. Even though in those drives, he threw what should have been interceptions. He actually threw a terrible interception. By the way, the interception that Peyton threw was a high school, college, rookie mistake type interception. He was basically horrendous, and he was trying to give the game. He was almost trying to give the game away. Even on the very last play, significant play, 3rd down and goal, just run it, kick the field goal and go up 9. He's trying to throw it there. Can you believe that? He's more likely to be intercepted and get a touchdown, or more likely to get sacked in a fumble, which then Carolina's back in the ballgame. They're only down 6. Why was he throwing it there? That is one of the worst calls in Super Bowl history. Again, we don't look at it that way because everything turned out okay for Denver. There was a penalty on the play. I don't know if it was a good call, bogus call. But that brings us to, if they were both even, so then what am I trying to show? I'm trying to show it wasn't just defense wins championships. And now let's look at the luck factor that came in, or the factors that it wasn't such great defense by Denver, right? And that I take you to, my papers are right in front of me here, right there. Where the fumbles took place. The fumbles for Carolina took place right in the end zone for a touchdown, and one 5 yards away from a touchdown. So as I said last night, you could simply analyze this game. Equally bad offenses, equally great defenses, 2 7-point turnovers, and that's the game, 24-10. You could do it that way. But and what I'm pointing out with that again is that don't just say defense wins championships. And that Denver, they were both equal. Carolina just happened to have their 2 fumbles back at the goal line. Now you'll say that's not fair. Denver was pressuring all day. They're bound to get turnovers. Okay, but they're not bound to get turnovers at the 1 yard line, in the end zone, or at the 5. Okay, but still, they were putting more pressure on the rush, and therefore don't be calling that luck that they happened to get it at the 1 yard. Okay, I understand that. I still think there's a little bit of element of luck there, the timing. And Peyton Manning's turnovers didn't happen in his own goal line. His turnovers happened 75 yards away from the end zone and 50 yards away from the end zone. Okay, fine. What about the non-penalty calls? I noticed last night, remember I mentioned Von Miller on both his strip sacks, he committed a penalty. One, I have finally found somebody that noticed it like me. Von Miller on the very first one for the touchdown smacked Peyton Manning in the head. That's an automatic penalty. You can't hit the quarterback in the head. Go back and watch that. You'll see that he hit him in the head. That's even if you're making a tackle with the rest of your body. Once you hit him in the head, automatic. Secondly, the batted ball forward after the strip forward at the fumble at the end of the game, and the ball's laying there, and for some reason Cam Newton doesn't jump for it, which I suspect he wanted to run at it and pick it up, and then when he got too close, it was like he can't get down there, it's going to hurt his leg. You know, you're in an awkward position if you go down at that point. So I'll actually give him the benefit of the doubt that he was trying to make a play of scooping it out. I don't know why he didn't say that at the press conference. What he said made him really look bad. Well, I didn't want to get hurt. That looks wimpy. And he slid. That looked wimpy. But anyway, luck of not, but so had the ball get forward 5-10 yards, Von Miller grabs it and bats it illegally forward. Penalty. Should have been Carolina ball. They didn't call Talib, should have been thrown out of the game. I didn't mention this last night. It's the one I forgot on my last night production. Talib should have been thrown out of the game for a vicious, dangerous face mask where he took him and basically did a 360 and chucked him out of bounds. It should have been an ejection on the spot. That's a dangerous move. He even admitted after the game now that it was on purpose. I would suspend him for the year, to tell you the truth. I mean, a guy like that's a dangerous, flip him around. I mean, what is that? That is not. That's Bush League. That is Bush League. That is not. That's not, well, that's good physical football. Get out of here. Anyway, what about the drops by Carolina? That's not great defense, but they were afraid they were going to get hit. Nervous, Cam at the beginning, the overthrows, okay, that's to be expected. He's going to be nervous. Peyton Manning's not going to be as nervous. Cam was nervous. There were 2 overthrows in the first drive, a third drive later. But the drops, Kachary dropped 3, including 1 near the end zone right before the missed field goal. And by the way, they missed a field goal. That's 3 more points they could have had. 3 more points. So again, if you're looking at it, whoa, Denver defense just dominated this game, and that's the story of the game. That is the main story of the game. But Carolina's defense was just as good. And look at all the drops. Look at the missed calls. A little bit element of luck in the game. And now my final point, Carolina could have adopted their offense more. That's what I said last night again. I'm trying to point out that Carolina had answers. I don't think Peyton Manning had an answer that he could have moved the ball. What could he have done? There is one thing. He could have thrown the ball more to Sanders. Because every time he threw to Sanders, the drive in the second half, that wasn't a field goal, because he had 2 20-yard passes to Sanders. And then later in the quarter, he had a 15-yarder to Sanders. So why didn't they throw more to Sanders? Okay, you want to tell me that would have worked more had he done it? I don't know. I think they were much more limited than what they could have done. But Carolina could have run the ball better. They could have designed their runs better. They could have thrown change and go off of your aggressiveness. And I know you're supposed to be aggressive. I understand it. Throw the ball, but if it's not working after a while, change it, adapt just to throw the short ones. There are a couple of plays they had where they set up time for Cam Newton. I'm sure that they could have set up time better for Newton. That's not taking much away from the Denver defense, but there is a little bit at fault on the Carolina offense. Well, 14-38. I got off my mind what was bothering me more. This has been a SALT analysis, again, with details, and you get a better picture, Salt adds it gives you takes away the blandness of what's out there. I gave you a better analysis of what happened out there in Super Bowl 50, 15-minute mark now.